and such as the knowledge of past or the kings who disappeared in past centuries or past times, and faraway places. See, like the example I just gave. Okay. The only difference is that the examples that he gives, denying them would not be a cause for kufr. But when the contents of the information of the khabar mutawatir is what Allah said or the Prophet said, then denying them is impermissible. Now the second type of report, the truthful report, is the report of the messenger who is supported with the stunning miracle. So it stuns mental reservation. It disarms ajaza, to leave someone helpless to resist or oppose with their mind or with their argument. So however you translate it, you try to show that the mu'jiza has a kind of disabling effect, disabling of opposition, right? Like stunning, or it's something that's what amazing originally means, but amazing has lost its power or due to overuse. You can say there's another word that I used, not stunning, but maybe it will come back to me. And that also compels knowledge, but it is a kind of istidlali ilm. Yani, how would you translate istidlali? Demonstrative knowledge, knowledge that is a two-step knowledge. It's not as direct as the self-evident knowledge or intuitive knowledge, or it requires a kind of demonstration. And most of our authentic and well-established evidence is of that type, right? And that is also a kind of knowledge that if one denies it, they will not be considered an unbeliever. Not to say that it is allowed or that it is a good thing, because they will still be considered reprobate or deviant. And the knowledge that is established through that kind of demonstrative knowledge is like counters the knowledge that is firmly established through intuitive or through necessary means in certainty and in the force of its being established. Right? But it is less. I mean, so the second type is less in certainty and in being established. So the demonstrative knowledge needs you to think, and the mass transmitted knowledge doesn't need you to think. It's something that you accept without having to think twice about it. As for the mind, it is the means by which one knows also, and whatever is known or established through the mind in patent terms, يعني بديهة ما يثبت منه بالبداهة, يعني self-evident terms. Now that is categorically obligatory or categorically necessary. هو ضروري كالعلم بأن كل الشيء أعظم من جزئه. Or something that is again intuitive and self-evident. So if you say that the whole of a thing is bigger than its part, of course you don't need to think twice about it. It's like saying that 2 is bigger than 1. And as for what needs a demonstration to be established, then such knowledge is not self-evident but acquired. And ilham, inspiration, is not one of the means by which you acquire knowledge, that something is sound and true according to the people of truth. Except, our teacher said, for the one that receives it, but not for others. So if one receives certain inspiration, such as in istikhara, that constitutes a strong proof for that person, but they cannot go and make it a rule of thumb for everyone to follow. That's clear. And firasa, or the insight of a person, of a believer, is established by the hadith of Prophet ﷺ. اتقوا فراسة المؤمن. Beware of the insight of the believer. فإنه يرى بنور الحق. This is a hadith for truly they see through the light of truth, or through the light of Allah. So, and this hadith is narrated by Imam al-Junayd, the chain of this hadith. And Imam al-Tirmidhi narrates this hadith in his Sunan. So, for example, Sariyat al-Jabal. Al-Jabal Sariya. Sayyidina Umar shouted to Sariya, and Sayyidina Umar was in Medina and Sariya was somewhere else in Persia. And he was warning him about the enemy army that was coming from behind the mountains. So that is firasa, and it is similar to ilham. Okay. So that kind of knowledge is very particular in time, place, person. Al-alam وَالْعَالَمُ بِجَمِيعِ أَجْزَائِهِ مُحْدَثٌ. Now the world in all of its parts is originated and created, or originated in creation, or originated in time, because حدوث الشيء is the occurrence of something in time. Since it consists in material objects and accidents. So the ayn of something, literally it's the eye or the source of, or the material object itself, or the concrete object. So al-ayn also is a name for real wealth, like gold and silver. And here it means substances and accidents. So the substances would be palpable, discrete entities, and then the accidents are their color, their dimensions, their weight, their place, their form, and all of their attributes and descriptions. So the concrete objects, al-a'yan, they are not self-subsistent in themselves. They are either made of parts, compounds, such as bodies, or not made of parts, such as jawhar, that's substance, and the latter would be a part that is indivisible, and from where we get atom. The atom is literally the undivisible part. And as for accidents, they are what do not subsist in themselves, but rather occur in bodies and substances, such as colors, forms, tastes, smells. Now the originator of the universe, alam is like the visible universe, right? We should define alam, and Imam Baydawi defines it when he mentions Rabb al-Alameen. When discussing Rabb al-Alameen, he says alam is what points to something, like alam, the emblem or the flag. Alam is the emblem or the flag, and then alam was called alam, referring to the world, because it points to the creator. So it's like the world is an indicator of its creator. By virtue of existing, it's pointing to the one that brought it into existence. So that's why it was called alam. So the originator for the visible universe, and everything other than Allah is alam. Everything and anything other than Allah is alam, part of al-alam. The originator for the visible universe is Allah Most High, the One, the beginningless, Al-Qadim. Is Al-Qadim one of the transmitted names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? No. It is a name that was devised by the philosophers, I think, by Ibn Sina or one of his category of thinkers, to say that Allah is, or wahid, like wahid, wajib al-wujud also. I think wajib al-wujud is that term that was devised by Ibn Sina. Al-Qadim, I don't think Al-Qadim occurs in one of the lists of the different lists of the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but it means one without beginning. Right? Al-Baqi is its counterpart, but Al-Baqi does occur in the prophetic lists of the divine names. Al-Hayy, the all-living, Al-Qadir, the all-powerful, the all-knowing, the all-hearing, the all-seeing, the all-willing, and the all-wanting. So it's the same thing, Mashi'a and Irada, or Sha'a, Arada, both mean to will in relation to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They did not make a difference between the two in theological terms. He is not an accident or an attribute, nor is he a body, nor a substance, nor visualized, or nor nor subject to depiction, musawwar, nor limited, nor countable, nor possessing parts, nor divisible, nor compound, nor having an end or bound, nor is he described through quiddity, mahiyya, or in another manuscript, ma'iyya, yani whatness, is nature. We don't say what is the divine nature. We can say what is the nature of this compound, what is the nature of this liquid or this solid or this molecule, but we cannot say what is the nature of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's mahiyya. Nor with modality or how-ness. So the mahiyya is whatness and kayfiyya is how-ness. Yani nature and modality. Nor does he settle in a place, or nor does he take place somewhere, nor is he subject to time and nothing resembles him, and nothing is outside his knowledge or his power whatsoever. And I think some versions here add لَيْسَ كَمِثْلِهِ شَيْءٌ وَهُوَ السَّمِيعُ الْبَصِيرُ. There is nothing like unto him, and he is the all-hearing, all-seeing. Some of the attributes of Allah. Now, he has attributes that are, so as we said before, Azal is without beginning. So Azal is eternal from the perspective of beginning. And Abad is eternal from the perspective of end. So we translated Azali as beginningless, beginningless and eternal, and Abadi as everlasting. Or also we could say Azali is pre-existent. And now he has pre-existent attributes that قائمة that subsists in his essence بذاته. يعني قامة literally means to stand. And those attributes are neither he himself nor other than he himself. We say, for example, and they are knowledge, power, life, strength, hearing, will, again, will, so irada and mashia, and action and creation and giving or sustaining and speech. Now these subsist in himself and they are indissociable from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but we cannot say that they are Allah, and we cannot say that they are not Allah. We don't describe them beyond this kind of description. And some, of course, modernists or people from different schools take exception to this kind of language, but it is a language born out of adab. And since we are speaking of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's better to be cautious even at the price of our own logic. If your logic doesn't accept it, then because it's so right to say that our logic is limited. So if it comes to Allah, it doesn't matter if our logic doesn't accept it, because it's limited. And we're speaking about the undescribable Lord and Creator of all. So never mind. Neither he nor other than he. Sifatul Kalam, the attributes of speech. Now he is speaking with a speech which is an attribute for him without beginning, a pre-existent attribute, which is not of the species or genus, which would correspond also literally to jins in Arabic, of letters and sounds, in which case it would be an attribute that that opposes or that is contrary to silence and defect or blemish of some sort. No. So it is not of that type, of being able to speak literally or not being able to speak. And Allah Most High speak through those letters, through those letters, giving orders and prohibitions, and also reporting. So giving orders is pray, aqimu salah, and then prohibiting, do not do this, do not do that, and then mukhbirun, all of the stories of the prophets. such as in Surah Al-Kahf and other non-prophets as well. And Quran is the uncreated speech of Allah Most High. And this is contrary to Mu'tazilis and Shia. And it is written in our volumes and preserved in our hearts and recited with our tongues. So all this is called Quran. And it is a miracle that we can recite with our created tongue uncreated speech in itself, to think of it, the speech of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it is heard with our ears, and it does not become immanent in them, in our hearts, in our volumes, in our ears, and in our tongues. We cannot say that the speech of Allah, which is a divine attribute, becomes part of us or part of the Mus'haf and so forth. So there is no incarnationism going on, in other words. The two attributes of creation and will. Now, creating at takween is a pre-existent or beginningless attribute for Allah Most High, and it consists in His creating the visible universe and every part of its many parts at the time of its existence. Right. Now, creating al-takween is other than al-mukawwani, than the thing created in our view. That's the Maturidi view. And will, al-irada, is an attribute for Allah Most High, which is pre-existent, without beginning, and subsisting in His essence. Okay. The vision of Allah Most High with eyesight is permissible and correct rationally, and obligatorily known through transmission. Okay? Because Allah Most High said in Holy Quran, وُجُوهٌ يَوْمَئِذٍ نَاظِرَةٌ إِلَى رَبِّهَا نَاظِرَةٌ, and faces on that day will be resplendent, looking at their Lord. And the Prophet ﷺ also said in many sound hadiths that you will see your Lord just as surely as you see the moon in the sky on a cloudless night. And it is also perfectly conceivable in the mind. So it's from the two perspectives. And the prophetic proof came to us. So we say sam'i, meaning that the audible proof which we heard from the Prophet. So when we say as-sam'iyat, the proofs that are heard or the reports that were heard, we mean heard from the Prophet. And it has come to refer to all of those things that only a prophet can tell you. So the sam'iyat will cover everything of the afterlife and the day of resurrection, or life in the grave and so forth, the coming of the beast, the Dajjal, the Mahdi, and the descent of Sayyidina. All of these are sam'iyat. So Dalilu Sam'i is the prophetic proof that the vision of that the sighting by the believers of Allah Most High in the in the abode of the hereafter will certainly take place. Ijab, wajib. And he will then be seen not in a place and not in a direction, which implies some kind of face-to-face encounter, or and nor through the connection of rays, yani the impinging of light particles on a surface. That's what we would say in modern language, or the fixing of a distance between the person sighting and between Allah, between the person sighting and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's saying that he will be seen, but without any of the necessary physical preconditions of sight in the physical world, which involve all of these phenomena and pre-requirements. And Allah Most High creates all the acts of servants, including or such as unbelief as well as belief. Now this is very hard on the mind, and this is the main point of dissent of the Mu'tazila, why they refuse to attribute to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that he would do that. But if Allah and the Prophet ﷺ said so, then there is no, and even a million great minds of the Mu'tazila will not sway us from accepting that. We just need to accept it, and that is the belief in Qadar, that Allah apportions the Qadar, good and evil as well, including unbelief and belief, and he creates that, as well as obedience and sin. And all these are all through the will of Allah Most High and His devising. Yani, irada and mashia, and His wisdom, and His decree, qadiyya, in the sense of qada, and His apportionment, taqdeer. And at the same time, for creatures, they are voluntary acts. This is to rebut the Jabriya. So he rebuts the Qadariya and the Mu'tazila, who say that no, Allah cannot possibly create evil. People create their own sins, because Allah only creates good. So as for sins and evil, then we must find another creator. Let's say people create it. So then now, according to the Qadariya, Imam al-Haramain said, there are as many creators as there are sins in creation. And that's like saying, it's worse. Imam al-Haramain said, you are worse than the Manichaeans and the dualists, because at least the dualists said there is one God who creates good things and there is one bad God who creates bad things. So they are dualists. He says the Qadariya are worse than that. And must be careful, because the Christians and in non-Muslim cultures, especially in the West, there is primarily a Qadariya materialistic bent that will among people who claim that they believe in a deity, but at the same time they refuse to attribute all things in creation to that same deity. And they will select according to what their mind dictates to them, according to what the Mu'tazila invented as tahsin and taqbih, yani the things that they consider beautiful and good, okay, they attribute that to Allah, and the rest they cannot. So they must find another doer for them. Now, and so the voluntary acts of creatures, and they are rewarded for them or punished for because of them. And the beautiful acts are the beautiful acts garner the good pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the ugly acts
are not with his good pleasure. So you see, he makes a difference between the divine will and the divine good pleasure. The divine will encompasses everything, belief and kufr, obedience and disobedience. Nothing happens except by divine will. However, the divine good pleasure is only for what he commanded, not for everything that he wills. Nothing happens without his will, right? But he commanded obedience, he commanded iman, and iman is what gets his rida, his good pleasure. So rida is one thing, irada is another. Be careful about that, do not confuse the two. Now, legal responsibility and or legal tasking, legal liability, and human responsibility. Now, ability comes with action and consists in the literal power by which a deed or an act is effected. And such a name is applied to the soundness or to the haleness, salamat, yani in the sense of good functioning of the ways and means and organs and limbs. Right? So when someone is of sound mind, let's say, and has healthy limbs and so forth, and is able to do something, that is what we read the very similar phrase in the Aqidah Tahawiyya. That's what we call ability. And the soundness of legal liability or legal responsibility, taklif, is based on such ability. Okay, that's why a person asleep is not sinful. If they are asleep and then the time of salat comes and goes, right? But when they wake up, they are supposed to fulfill that command. However, if they know that they're going to be asleep at the time that they are not asleep, and they can predict through their own habits, and they know that, and they still do not take the ways and means to prevent that, then that's a different matter. But otherwise, they cannot be legally liable if they're unconscious, because they do not have a hale limbs and mind, thinking mind at the time. Okay. So this is the pivot, you might say. يعني تعتمدوا يعني they are pivotal in order for ability to be there. And a servant is not tasked with something beyond their strength or beyond their ability. As for what they find of pain in the person who is struck right after the blow administered by a human being, or a break in a glass after a human being breaks it, and the like, all of that, Allah creates it. It is not the doing of the servant in its creating. So we say that the servant has ability and responsibility and is tasked and so forth. However, the effects inflicted on things or on others by human beings is not literally their doing. It is created by Allah Most High. And the one who is killed dies by virtue of his term of life decreed by Allah. And death subsists in the dead one as a creature of Allah Most High. Yeah, and this is very good, because this is a refutation also of the view, like the Christian view, that death doesn't have an objective reality, but is only the absence of life, and which is also the Mu'tazili position. No, it is actually created. الذي خلق الموت والحياة. لِيَبْلُوَكُمْ أَيُّكُمْ أَحْسَنُ عَمَلًا. So death is created, and the effects of acts by the living also are all created by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they are not the doing of the creature in their being created, nor do they acquire the merit for that. That is, except if there is some kind of legal responsibility that is tied to that, such as helping someone or inflicting harm on someone that one shouldn't. Right. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَمَا رَمَيْتَ إِذْ رَمَيْتَ لَكِنَّ اللَّهَ رَمَى. So this is clearly in the Quran that إِذْ رَمَيْتَ, يعني you did throw, but no, you did not throw. So subhanallah, this is like there are him, neither him nor other than him. So you did throw, but you did not throw in reality. So you did throw relatively in a certain sense, but in the absolute sense, it is the doing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's what he's trying to say here. That's what Imam al-Ash'ari was saying when he said fire does not burn, but it is Allah who creates the burning. The knife does not cut, it is Allah who creates the cutting. At the time that it is applied, at the time that the combustible is applied, at the time that you drink, it is not the water that quenches your thirst, but rather Allah creates the quenching in concurrently with the act of drinking. And so you say the water quenched my thirst habitually, but not in reality. In the ontologically, it is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who is the doer of all things. And then the term of life is one. Once it is fixed, that's it. Nothing, increases life or decreases it. Subhanallah. It is hard for us to accept because the world of habit dominates our minds. Habit, dunya, causes and means and effects. But we must know that theologically speaking and in terms of spiritual reality, Allah is the doer of everything. Okay. We have to have wahdat al-shuhud, oneness of vision, of seeing always the action of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and nothing else. So the awliya, they see that, and like Sayyidina Ali radiallahu anhu, he say, I always see Allah behind everything. And otherwise, how could they stop objecting to say, tasawwuf is to stop objecting to everything, because they see the qadar in action, and they only object to when the command comes to object, not from their own nafs and not from the habit of their minds or of their limbs. And haram is rizq. Haram is also called rizq. In other words, the property that does not belong to the thief or to the one who eats that is still called rizq, contrary to the Mu'tazila who said, no, only the halal may be called rizq. Imam Baydawi also has a rebuttal of that position, saying no, both halal and haram may be called rizq. And everyone gets their sustenance, their rizq, or their provision in full. The one that Allah appointed for them, in full, whether it is halal or haram. Subhanallah. And it is not imaginable that a human being might not be able to consume their own provision, or that they might consume, that someone else might consume their provision. This is the hadith that nothing would reach you that is not appointed for you, and nothing would miss you that is appointed for you to have. And Allah Most High misguides whoever He wishes and guides whoever He wishes, of course, Surah Al-Baqarah. And whatever is best for a servant, it is not obligatory for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make it happen. Contrary to the Mu'tazila again, because the Mu'tazila said whatever is best, Allah has to make it happen, because Allah again is like, for the Mu'tazila, is under the law of goodness and of creating only the good, etc. But Allah is under no such law, and the proof is in the Quran that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that if Allah wanted to put Isa and his mother in hellfire, no one can object. And then Allah again said, they will be, the creation will be asked, and he is not asked why he does this, but they are asked. So we should not treat Allah as creation. Allah is not like us, and not make our analogical mind and our comparisons the rule over Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. No. So all of this is a rebuttal of the Mu'tazila. None of this, لَيْسَ ذَلِكَ بِوَاجِبٍ عَلَى اللَّهِ تَعَالَى. None of this is obligatory for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, the states of the hereafter, the punishment of the grave for the unbelievers and for some of the sinners among the believers. And the bliss of the obedient ones in the grave is all part of the knowledge of Allah. Sorry, this is still an adjective. Being part of what Allah Most High knows and wants, right? As well as now the questioning of Munkar and Nakir, the two angels, all of this is well established with the proofs from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Or you could say, like I said in the beginning, that the punishment in the grave and the bliss in the grave is something that is known by Allah Most High and that He wants also. And then He says, and the questioning of Munkar and Nakir is well established. But the first part is also well established by prophetic hadith. Then He says resurrection is real and true, and the weighing of the deeds in the scale is real and true, and then the record that will be given to each person in the judgment day and say, read your own record of deeds, is real and true. I need to see all of your deeds that you did in life, and the questioning is real and true. Did you do this? Did you say this? Did you spend this like that, etc.? And the basin of the Holy Prophet ﷺ is real and true, and the bridge over hellfire is real and true, and that is sharper than the edge of the sword. And the paradise is real and true, and hellfire is real and true, and they are created as we speak. وَهُمَا مَخْلُوقَتَانْ الْآنِ, he says. And they exist and they abide eternally, baqiyatan, never to be extinguished, and their people also will not come to an end. This is contrary to the view that not that paradise, but although there may have been a sect that held that, but that view, of course, was completely rejected. But the other view that hellfire will come to an end, or that its people will somehow exit from it, or will come to an end, their punishment will come to an end, either by their being completely annihilated, or by their being able to sustain it, just stand it, but not in the sense of punishment anymore. Says this is rejected. As for grave sins, الكبائر الكبيرة لا تخرج العبد المؤمن من الإيمان. So the commission of grave sin does not bring out a servant from the description of belief, contrary to the Mu'tazila, because they would say that they are now in a station in between Iman and Kufr, and does not make one kafir. That's contrary to the Khawarij. Because Khawarij consider that the sinner becomes a kafir. And including the liar. That's why Imam Bukhari did accept some narrations from Khawarij because he considered that lying was kufr. So that made them reliable reporters. Yeah. So even though they had problems in their doctrine. And Allah Most High does not forgive that anyone associate to Him anything, but forgives whatever is less than that for whoever He wishes. This caveat is important. For whoever He wishes, not automatic. Just because it's not shirk, then He will forgive automatically. No, for whoever He wishes, of those who commit either small sins or grave sins, and it is possible to be punished for small sins as well. And it is possible to be forgiven for grave sins. As long as one did not commit any of that by declaring that they are permissible. Because declaring something that constitutes a sin to be permissible is kufr, even if they do not actually do it. Like for example, suppose someone who is a person of belief, but they are addicted to substance or drunks. They are drunken, but they know that it's wrong. So that doesn't bring them out of belief. Suppose someone prays and does everything right, but in their philosophical discussions, they say, my belief is that such and such, that it is permitted actually from time to time to have it. That's kufr, although he never did it, but he holds that, he declares that to be, so that's istihlal, to make something halal which is haram. And now shafa'ah, intercession, is well established for messengers and the chosen ones, or the best of the Muslims. So al-akhyar. Now the messengers, they are prophets. Al-akhyar, awliya Allah, non-prophets. And that intercession will benefit who? Will benefit the grave sinners, Ahl al-Kaba'ir, meaning among the Muslims.
No.
بِالْمُسْتَفِيدِ مِنَ الْأَخْبَارِ, through reports that are widespread. So Mustafid is the strongest of the Sahih reports, but doesn't quite reach Mutawatir, mass transmitted. It's Mustafid, it's very widespread. But some people equated that Mustafid with Mutawatir also. So, but we prefer to, if we want to say Mutawatir, we say Mutawatir, mass transmitted. Now the grave sinners of the believers will not abide eternally in hellfire. Yani no one who said La ilaha illallah will abide eternally in hellfire, as grave a sinner as they were in life. They will all eventually be brought out. And if you want to read the description of the very last person to ever that will be brought out of hellfire, ever, you can read that in the book of Iman in the beginning of Sahih Muslim, and see how much Allah gives to that one after he enters them paradise. He'll say to him, ask whatever you want and think of the greatest of kings in the earth, and I'll give you 10 times that. And whatever your heart wishes, to the point that that sinner who was forgiven by Allah will say, أَتَسْتَهْزِئُ بِي وَأَنْتَ الْمَلِكُ? Yani, are you mocking me and you are the king, you are making fun of me? You are going to give me all that, really? Are you making fun of me? And he says, and Allah says to him, لا ولكني أفعل ما أشاء أو ولكني فعال لما أريد. Yani, I'm not mocking you. It's just that I do what I please. My generosity, if I want to give it, no one can question it. And belief in the Islamic law or sacred law is defined as confirmation of what the Prophet, upon him blessings and peace, brought on the part of Allah Most High, and declaring it so. So the confirmation is in the heart, and the iqrar, the declaration, is with the tongue. So that's how he defined belief, you see. He starts with confirmation in the heart, that the heart, there is a conviction that all this is true. Prophet ﷺ is true. What he brought is true. The Quran is the divine speech. It is not man-made, and everything in it is true. That's in the heart. And he says, and also for it to be belief, it has to be declaration with the tongue. Then that person is a believer. And then according the Ash'ari position, as defined in the books of the Ash'ira, and like for example in Tafsir al-Baydawi, is when that conviction is in the heart, that's it, that person is a believer already. See, even if he never gets to say or never does say with the tongue. All right. Now, the Ahlul Hadith and the Mu'tazila, they said, no, there has to be conviction in the heart, declaration with the tongue, and action with the limbs. And action with the limbs for it to be called belief. So you see the difference here between those three schools, Maturidi, that we are reading here, the Ash'ari, and then the Ahlul Hadith, the Muhaddithun, and the Mu'tazila. Mu'tazila are not part of Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah, but the Ahlul Hadith, such as Bukhari, Muslim, and many of also the people of the four mazahib, such as Imam Shafi'i, they are part of Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah, of course. So there are three schools of thought here on the definition of Iman, and the easiest being the Ash'ari school, and the middle one being what we are reading now, the Maturidi school. As for deeds, he says, so now he's addressing the third school, the school of Ahlul Hadith and the Mu'tazila. They increase in themselves. Yani you can count the deeds. Someone may be praying more, someone may be praying less. So these are deeds that can be counted. But belief cannot be counted. Belief is either there or not there. Like being pregnant, you can't say a little or more or less. No, either or. So either believer or not. That's the Maturidi position. That belief neither increases nor decreases. And Islam is one. Yani either it's there or it's not there. So you see, they equate between Islam and Iman. Right? So as we said before, Ash'aris do not. They make a difference between Islam, which does not increase or decrease. Either it's there or it's not. And Iman, which does increase or decrease. As stated in the Hadith. And as stated also, زَادَتْهُمْ إِيمَانًا وَعَلَى رَبِّهِمْ يَتَوَكَّلُونَ in the Quran. For ziyada. So now, if you have confirmation from the servant and declaration, it is correct to be said of such a person, for that person to say, I am a believer truly. أنا مؤمن حقا. ولا ينبغي أن يقول أنا مؤمن إن شاء الله. And he should not say, I am a believer, God willing. Because you see, as we said, believer here means Muslim. So you say, yeah, I am Muslim. But he also, it says mu'min as a synonym. Okay, I am mu'min also. Do not say inshallah. Whereas for Ash'aris, Muslim is what we are now. We define ourselves as Muslim. But mu'min is what we hope to be at the time of death. And to be dying with the declaration of belief, that's Iman. So that's why they say, Inshallah, at that time I will be Muslim, mu'min, at that time. طيب. And our teacher, Shaykh Ghawji, said, you can say, Ana mu'min inshallah, tabarrukan. Tabarrukan. You ask for the barakah of the divine will. Yeah. That's a nice way of reconciling the two schools. But that's like a contradiction of what the Imam here is saying. Maturidi position. And he said, but this is not for Maturidis to say that tabarrukan, we say, well, maybe others are saying it tabarrukan. وفي المستقبل, and to mean in the future, meaning at the time of death. That's where it counts, because actions are according to their conclusions. والسعيد قد يشقى. Now the one who is blessed might become one who is unblessed, meaning in the future, and the unblessed one might become one who is blessed. Yeah, and this is in the famous hadith that a person might be doing the deeds of the people of paradise all their lives, etc. So we're talking here about the suspended decree, qada mu'allaq. It might change, Allah might change it. So we ask Ya Rabbi to be on haqq and on sa'ada fi darain, to be of the good believers in dunya and akhirah. And now the change might be to bliss or to unblissfulness, meaning from the acts of the believers. And that does not mean that it is Allah's decree that that person will be eternally blessed or eternally unblessed, because the latter are from that decision is part of the attributes of Allah Most High, and they cannot change.
Mm-hmm.
They do not change, nor do his nor do any of his attributes change. So, in other words, the acts of the creature is one thing, and the decree of Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, the creating of the happiness for the servant, is another thing. In the sending of messengers, there is a wisdom, and Allah Most High sent messengers of the human beings to human beings, giving glad tidings and warnings, and exposing to people what they need of the matters of this world and of religion. And Allah Most High supported those messengers with stunning miracles and breaches of custom, naqidat lil'ada. So these are contradicting normal, so-called, what we call normal or physical laws. Like, for example, the staff that lit the way for the companions at night, right? And when they parted ways, the light parted also, so they each had a light to guide them home. So this is conceivable in the mind. So it violates natural custom and habit, but it is still conceivable in the mind. All right? The speaking tree, the spring from the fingers of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the multiplication of food and drink, and the speaking animals, and so forth. So all of this can be conceived in the mind, even if it is never seen. And the first of prophets is Adam, upon him peace, and the last of them is Muhammad, upon him blessings and peace. And the exposition of their number was mentioned in some hadiths, namely in the hadith of the Musnad, that there are 120,000 prophets and 313 of messengers. And it is preferable to not limit ourselves to a specific number when we name them. We don't say this is it and that's it, because Allah Most High said, among them are those we narrated to you, and among them are those we did not mention to you or recount. And وَلَا يُؤْمَنُ, we cannot be sure when we mention a number that whether we are including those that are not part of them, or excluding those that are not part of them. So he says, don't specify a number, but just say whatever Allah sent. And all of them were, now he's moving to another topic, all of them were reporting and conveying from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala truthfully and transparently. And the best of prophets is Muhammad, upon him blessings and peace. Now the angels are the servants of Allah Most High who do His command, and they cannot be described as male or female. So to describe them as female is kufr, because that's the act of the unbelievers of Quraysh and the Arabs and the whatever the angel worshippers of that time. Whereas to describe them as male is not kufr but fisq, yani deviancy. It is a lesser of, it is offensive, but not as grave as the first one, because the first one was explicitly reviled in the Quran as the act of unbelief. And Allah Most High has books, many books, which He sent down upon His prophets, and in which He exposed His command, His prohibition, His promise, and His threats. Now for the staggering miracles. That's what I use, staggering, because I found it more effective than stunning linguistically. So the staggering, because they stagger the mind is unable to resist them. So they are irresistible and staggering miracles, and the miraculous gifts, mu'jizat, karamat. Staggering miracles, mu'jizat. And miraculous gifts, karamat. Now the ascension for the Messenger of Allah, upon him blessings and peace, in a wakeful state, with his noble person, meaning physically, to the sky, and then to whatever Allah Most High wished of the heights, is real and true, haqq. So all of this sentence is mubtada, and haqqun is the khabar. And the miraculous gifts of the friends of Allah is real and true, or are real and true. So He shows the miraculous gift by way of breaching custom for the friend of Allah, such as making distance short, making long distance short in a very brief time, and showing or causing food to appear, or drink, or clothing when there's need, or walking upon the water, or flying in the sky, or the speech of solids or dumb beasts, and other than that, and other things besides that. But all of that would be called a mu'jizah, a staggering miracle for the messenger, for whom, for the community of whom, or for one of whose community such a phenomenon takes place. So you see, the karama of each wali is a mu'jizah for the prophet that they follow. The staggering miracles of the people, the awliya Allah, in the time of Musa or after his time, before the next prophet, is each one of these staggering miracles, karama, is considered a mu'jizah for him, and it is in the record of his mu'jizat. You see, so this way no wali can claim that they did something that his prophet did not do, right? Such as, I don't know if to have a facility for many languages, let's say, right? To be able to speak many languages. If a wali had that, and someone might say, oh, you do something that Prophet ﷺ never did, and then you say, no, if this is a karama for me, it is certainly a mu'jizah for him. You cannot come out of that of that scope. Now, and it is enough that Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu described himself as one of the hasanat of Sayyidina Abu Bakr as-Siddiq. He put himself down in case someone said, look, you ruled for, mashallah, 10.5 years and you opened much more territories than Abu Bakr as-Siddiq. He said, no, what am I next to him? Right. And because he shows by that he is a wali, لأنه يظهر بها أنه ولي ولن يكون وليا إلا أن because a karama shows that person is a friend of Allah, but he would never be a friend of Allah that is really truthful in his religion unless he is affirming his prophet and the message of his messenger. Now, Khilafah and leadership, political leadership, Imama, the best of people after our Prophet is Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu anhu, then Umar al-Faruq, then Uthman of the two lights, the Nurayn. And al-Faruq means the discriminator between truth and falsehood. Like Furqan, we said, the discernment, one of the names of the Holy Quran, and also the name of the Battle of Badr, that discern between Kufr and Iman. Then Ali, the well-pleased, the one with whom Allah is well-pleased, Al-Murtada, radiallahu ta'ala anhum. You see, this mas'ala of tafdeel is a fitna for many people who, out of love for Ahlul Bayt and for Sayyidina Ali, fell into mistake and into tashayyu. And the consensus, ijma' of Ahlul Sunnati wal Jama'ah, it doesn't matter if some Sahaba, radiallahu anhum, did prefer Sayyidina Ali first and foremost, even, or more than Sayyidina Uthman. Never mind, this is like from their heart, and as we said before, love no one can discuss. Allah does not take anyone to task for loving one more than the other. However, that sequence, that is ijma' of Ahlul Sunnati wal Jama'ah. We don't tamper with it, and that's what we read also in Tahawiyya, and that is also mentioned in Fiqh al-Akbar of Imam Abu Hanifa and many other books also of other than the Hanafi mazhab. And their caliphate is well established according to this sequence as well. So there is tafdeel to say who is the best after Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. One, that's one issue, and then secondly, the issue of caliphate, legitimate caliphate, also follows the same sequence. This is the mazhab of Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah. As Imam Abu Hanifa said, mazhab of Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah is wala'u shaykhain, yani to declare yourself under the patronage of the two shaykhs, Abu Bakr and Umar, in that order, and hubbul khatanain, and to love the two sons-in-law, Uthman and Ali, wal mashu ala al-khuffain, and to wipe on the two khufs, and to consider that perfectly valid, because it's sunnah as related from the Prophet ﷺ by more than 70 Sahaba. And Imam Sufyan al-Thawri said, if you find problem with wiping on the khufs, you are not from Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah. You have to do it at least once in your time, in your lifetime, with complete trust that this is what your Prophet did. And the Khilafah, the Caliphate, lasted for 30 years. After that, what? After that, he says, kingship and emirate, mulk wa imara. And Muslims must have a political leader that will put into effect their laws and will also perform their penal or capital or criminal punishments and criminal law, and will buttress their borders and will equip their armies and will take their obligatory charities. What we mean here by sadaqat is zakat, and subdue the bandits and robbers and highway robbers, right? So yani subdue the outlaws, the ghaliba and the thieves and the highway robbers, and establish the Jum'ah prayer and the Eid prayer, and put an end to strifes or quarrels that take place between servants of Allah, and to accept the witness that are spoken over the rights of people, and to marry off the young ones, male and female, who do not have any guardians. So the wali, the leader of the Muslims, the imam of the political imam, he acts as the guardian of those who have no guardian, like orphans, and his appointees. See, so all of the qudat play that role, not just anyone who reads the nikah, but always what is assumed is that we are under the authority, and the authority ultimately is Allah and His Prophet, what is in the Quran. So that's what the wali is acting according to, and then distributing the booty or the spoils of war and so forth. And the so forth also includes, also among the spoils of war, slaves, if that were still the case. But according, under the Ottoman Khilafah, there was an abolition of that, and that took place, I think, even before the French Revolution and the American abolition. Right. This is an important point. But if it were under, when it still existed, it wasn't individuals enslaving, stealing people's lives, enslaving their bodies and making slaves out of free men and women, but rather it was people who, instead of being put to death in war, would be given, would be spared, their life would be spared, but it was the Sultan and the leader of the Ummah that would give the authority that these people would be sold into slavery. So it was like as a consequence of war, and that war also again had its own requirements to be lawful and to be waged. Not as today's the people who are claiming that slavery still can be put into effect and war be declared and waged and so forth. So then it is imperative to know that the political leader is visible, not hidden, and not expected, like the Shia, who are saying, there is no, we are all, they are all deputies of the expected Mahdi or the hidden leader, and that leader must be from Quraysh, and it is impermissible that he be from other than them. And so you see, he doesn't have to be a descendant of the Prophet. And it's larger. The Prophet said the Imams are from Quraysh. So, but not from other than them. Contrary to modernists like Maududi said, no, this is a political concession, and he tried to reject that hadith. It says that the Imams are from Quraysh. Means no, it refers to the past, or it refers to preference, or it refers to usually, or something like that. هذا تعطيل, divestiture of the meaning of the Arabic language. And look here, Imam Nasafiyya, centuries later, he said, no, the Imams are from them. That's it, in absolute terms. And it is not permissible that they be from other than them.
No.
And this is not specific to the Banu Hashim or to the children of Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu. And it is not a precondition for the Imam that he be sinless or infallible, ma'soom, contrary to their claim, the Shia, nor that he be better, the best of the people of his time, also contrary to their claim. and it is a precondition that he be from the people of absolute, complete wilaya. By wilaya we mean the ability to be considered the patron of the Muslims and a patron of the Ummah, that he understands that responsibility.
Mhm.
So if he tries his best, even if there are others that are better than him, that's good enough. But as long as he is eligible and he leads well, سائسا قادرا, and ably, he manages or he administers ably over the implementation of laws and the preservation of the borders of the territory of Islam and the extraction, complete, unalloyed extraction of the rights of those who were wronged from those who wronged them. And it is not right, it's impermissible for the leader to be impeached for reasons of deviancy or even jawr, crime even. For example, if the person is dissolute or drunk and so forth. Now some miscellanea nubab min al-masail that are proper to Ahl Sunnah as opposed to others. Now it is permissible to pray behind every virtuous and every disobedient one, and you can also pray janaza over every virtuous one and disobedient one, as long as the latter has died as a Muslim. مات على الإيمان, here died as a Muslim. That is externally, because we don't know their heart, but externally. And one must not touch in their speech, must not cast any aspersion on the companions, never mentioning them except in the best way. And we bear witness that the 10 whom the Prophet ﷺ gave the glad tidings of paradise, we bear witness that they do have paradise. And we view as correct to wipe over the leather socks, whether at home or traveling. And this is opposing the Shia, right? Because they don't view the khuf as valid, or wiping on the khuf. Nor do we declare that the date fruit mash is unlawful. The date fruit mash is unlawful according to Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah after 3 days. That's when any fruit juice becomes alcoholic if you leave it outside, in warm weather. In warm weather. Why, it happened to you?
No idea.
For example, a pack of rutab that is air sealed, and it says on it refrigerate, keep refrigerated. You buy it, come home, and you let it sit outside 3 days. You open it, you will smell the smell of wine. It has turned alcoholic. So happened to me. So you discard it. You cannot have it. And Imam Ahmad said any fruit juice after 3 days. That's it. So after 2 days it doesn't contain? Yeah, it does contain, but it is معفو عنه. This is for those who say, no, 0.01, no, you cannot touch it. So what is this? We are not tasked to look into things with a microscope like that. Use your senses. Your nose is enough of a microscope, your eyes, your tastes. That's it. خلاص. But as for looking into a microscope and making life difficult for the Muslims, no. We were not tasked to do that. طيب. And the wali never reaches, yani the friend of Allah never reaches the level of prophets, ever. وَلَا يَبْلُغُ وَلِي دَرَجَةً أَصْلًا. Because prophethood is not acquired, it's given. Allahu Akbar. So, as for the awliya, they strove with their blood, sweat, and tears, and they, the suluk of the subul Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala until Allah gave them what He gave him, and this is immense. But however, we do not mix the two and say that they can acquire it. But the confusion only occurred because of the discussion of the wilaya of prophets, because awliya Allah as a generic term includes them, you see. Although we never mean it generically, we mean it specifically to non-prophet friends of Allah. That's what we mean when we say usually awliya Allah. However, the first and greatest of awliya Allah are the anbiya first, and then the non-prophets, right? And no servant reaches to a point where they are no longer tasked by commands and prohibition. So that's a rebuttal of who? The Batiniyya and the what we call the Ibahiyya in modern terms. Ibahiyya are the permissive ones, the permissive schools. And because the Prophet ﷺ is the most pious of all, and he never stopped from all of the obligations and prohibitions. So therefore, as much as they reach of supposed sainthood, they can never stop worshipping Allah. And the texts are interpreted according to their literal meanings. I mean, that is the first step. The literal meanings are not invalidated now for figurative meaning. First, the literal meanings. Then, after that, whatever appears according to the language. Now, to just look away or to leave aside the literal meanings and to choose meanings that are claimed by Ahlul Batin, yani the people of inward interpretation, is deviancy, ilhad, or even atheism. You know, ilhad can have that meaning, but here he means inhiraf, our teacher said, yani deviancy. And وَرَدُّ النُّصُوصِ كُفْرًا, and to reject the texts outright, that's unbelief. And to make licit a sin or to make light of it is also unbelief. وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ. We have to be careful here and tread very carefully when it comes to the laws of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, lest we fall. Because there is a hadith that says a person might say one word and fall because of it 70 years into hellfire, and a person might say one word for it, and because of that Allah is well pleased with them and brings them into paradise. That's the kind of good word that we should be striving for, and we should make our tongue used to that kind of good word. And to mock the law is unbelief, and to despair of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is unbelief. And if anything, we despair of ourselves, but never of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or His mercy. And to feel absolutely safe of the punishment of Allah is unbelief, because this is only for prophets and those whom they reveal this to, that they are safe from it. Otherwise, no one is safe. أَأَمِنْتُمْ مَنْ فِي السَّمَاءِ أَنْ يَخْسِفَ بِكُمُ الْأَرْضِ? No, we are not sure. So we ask Allah for protection at all times. And to believe in a seer, or like a palm reader, a crystal ball reader, a tea leaf reader, a bone reader, and this kind of thing that they do, or it includes everything of that kind, like those also reading boards and cards, tarot, coffee thing. This kind of thing that where they take money from people and they tell them the future or tell them something hidden. All of that, to confirm that as true, is unbelief. And من الغيب عن الغيب يعني from unseen things. And something that doesn't exist is not called a thing. Now this is a point where they differ with the Ash'aris. That does the ma'dum, the thing that does not exist, or what does not exist, is it called shay, a thing, or not? They say no. And there is in the supplication of the living for the dead and in their charity on their behalf, there is benefit for the dead. We read exactly the same thing in Aqidah Tahawiyya. And at that point we said that for Ash'ari, for Shafi'is, you can do all of the ibadat on behalf of those who passed away and gift it to them, they receive it. And including reading Quran. And Allah Most High answers supplications and fulfills needs. That is, what if He wants. Right? So when we make dua, we do not add if you want, Ya Rabbi. But we know that that's if He wants. All right, so it's part of the divine will. But when we ask, give me, do, and this and that with adab, but without adding in shi'ta. طيب. وما أخبر به النبي عليه الصلاة والسلام من أشراط الساعة. As for what the Prophet ﷺ reported regarding the conditions of the final hour, such as the coming out of the arch liar or the Antichrist, Dajjal, and the beast of the earth, and Ya'juj and Ma'juj, and the descent of Isa upon him peace from the sky, and the ascent of, or the rising of the sun from its setting point. All of this is real and true. And the person who does ijtihad, yani striving juridical striving in the religion to obtain new rulings, new fatwas, and new insights into the law, that mujtahid might be wrong and might be right. And they are not infallible. And the messengers of human beings, among human beings, are superior to, are of a higher rank than the messengers among the angels. And the messengers of the angels are better than the commonality of human beings. And the commonality of human beings are better than the commonality of angels. And Allah knows best. MashaAllah, Allahu Akbar. So he ended up with this note on angels. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive us. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala send blessings and peace on the Prophet Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, on his family, on his companions, on all prophets, and on all angels in heaven and on earth, and make us good servants of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, supporters of one another, one and all. Zahiran and batinan, we are bankrupt and bereft unless Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sustains us every moment. We're asking for good life and good death. We're asking for nur in our lives and at the time of death and in the grave and upon the time of resurrection. Ya Rabbi, until you bring us safe and sound to your neighborhood and the neighborhood of your holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the best company. We believe in everything, Ya Rabbi, that you sent, and we follow everything according to our strength. And we confirm and we do confess our sins and our faults and our shortcomings. And we ask Ya Rabbi for the best forgiveness of you, Ya Rabbi, Ya Allah. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة في الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. يا رب اجعلنا من عبادك الشاكرين على نعمك وعلى نعمة الإسلام وشرف الإيمان وعلى هدى سيدنا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم والأنبياء والأولياء وعلى هداية مشايخنا يا رب يا الله. ثبتنا على الطريق المستقيم وتوفنا مسلمين وألحقنا بالصالحين. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. الفاتحة.